wondering tonight if any of you have ever had the experience of being on an ocean-going vessel in the midst of a storm. That can be a pretty frightening prospect, and I suppose asking a question like that would narrow down the field a little bit. I welcome you to Nightsounds. I've entitled our time together tonight, Heavy Seas. Some time ago I saw a film with the title The Perfect Storm. It was about this small fishing boat with about 8 members of the crew going out against weather warnings, feeling that they could circumvent the storm or just plow through the heavy seas. Well, the imagery by computer on this particular film was astounding. The realism was awesome. And as you saw this small boat come up against a 60-foot-high wave and just capsize over backward, well, it was frightening. Tonight's program, Heavy Seas, will just relate that to life's experiences. Maybe you've been through some spiritually or emotionally heavy seas lately, or maybe enduring them right now. I trust you can stay with us tonight, because actually what our subject matter is would be surviving life's storms, and we all meet them in varying degrees. In our last program that I recorded before this one, I had to cut off the closing number, and it was such an excellent recording that I sort of felt badly about it, and I promised that if you would join me the next time around, I wanted to play the entire recording. This is Robert Robinson, a young man who sings from his heart, from the ground up, all by himself. And as I mentioned in the other program, this is what real music is. It comes from the earth, through us, up to God. And sometimes you don't need any sophisticated accompaniment. It might begin just like this.
Couldn't hear nobody pray. Couldn't hear nobody pray. Way down yonder by myself, and I couldn't hear nobody pray.
The exciting voice of Robert Robinson with the incredible piano playing of Henry Weems on tonight's program, Nightsounds, with our subtitle, Heavy Seas. Do storms frighten you? It's funny how the same event can be interpreted so differently by so many people. A storm is a good metaphor for the human race. It usually means going through a tough time or being tossed about by events, wondering if we'll make it home okay. But storms also water the ground, clear the air, even fertilize the soil through the discharge of nitrogen and lightning. But the most important thing about storms is that they pass. It's interesting how often we get the greatest satisfaction from riding out these storms. The storms of life and our experiences, the subsequent trying times. The Storms of God was a title of a program we did some time back. The message was that God has never promised to eliminate storms from our lives. What He does offer is His protection and His strength to help us endure them. Psalm 55, David said, "Oh, that I had wings like a dove. I would fly away and be at rest. I would hasten to my place of refuge from the stormy winds and tempest." And then he concludes by saying, "Cast your burden upon the Lord, and He will sustain you." I suppose we could paraphrase that, "Cast your storms upon the Lord." Maybe your storm is not noticed by anyone else but you. A lot of people alone tonight to whom we're speaking. In the darkness, going through it alone. But you're not alone. You don't have to be alone, even though you may feel in total solitude. Just reading a little item that was sent in by one of our listeners, and it begins with, Ruth went to her mailbox, and there was only one letter. She picked it up and looked at it before opening, but then she looked at the envelope again. There was no stamp, no postmark, only her name and address. So she opened the envelope and read the letter. It said, "Dear Ruth, I'm going to be in your neighborhood Saturday afternoon, and I'd like to stop by for a visit. Love, always." The letter was signed, Jesus. Well, her hands were shaking as she placed the letter on the table. Why in the world would the Lord want to visit me? I'm nobody special. I have nothing to offer. With that thought, Ruth remembered her empty kitchen cabinets. Oh my goodness, I really don't have anything to offer. I'll have to run down to the store and buy something for dinner. She reached for her purse and counted out the contents. Only $5.40. Well, I can at least get some bread and cold cuts. She threw on her coat and hurried out the door. A loaf of French bread, a half-pound of sliced turkey, and a carton of milk, leaving Ruth with a grand total of 12 cents to last her until Monday. Nonetheless, she felt really good as she headed home, her meager offerings tucked under her arm. "Hey, lady, can you help us, lady?" Ruth had been so absorbed in her dinner plans she hadn't even noticed these two figures huddled in the alleyway, a man and a woman, both of them dressed in little more than rags. "Look, lady, I ain't got a job, and my wife and I been living out here in the streets, and well, now it's getting cold, and we're getting kind of hungry, and if Well, if you could help us, lady, we'd really appreciate it. Ruth looked at them both. They were dirty. They were really in bad shape. And she was certain that they should be able to get some kind of work if they really wanted to. I would really appreciate it. Sir, I'd like to help you, but I'm not that rich myself. All I have is a few cold cuts and some bread. And I'm having an important guest for dinner tonight, and I was planning on serving that to him. Yeah, I understand. Well, okay, lady. Thanks anyway. The man put his arm around the woman's shoulders, turned, and headed back to the alley. As she watched them leave, Ruth felt a familiar twinge in her heart. Sir, wait! The couple stopped and turned as she ran down the alley after them. Look, why don't you take this food? I'll figure out something else to serve my guest. And she handed the man her grocery bag. Thank you, lady. Thank you so very much. Yes, thank you, the woman said. It was the man's wife, and Ruth could see now that she was shivering. Ruth said, You know, I've got another coat at home. Here, why don't you take this one? Ruth unbuttoned her jacket and slipped it over the woman's shoulders. Then, smiling, she turned and walked back to the street, without her coat and with nothing to serve her guest. Thank you, lady. Thank you so very much. Ruth was chilled by the time she reached her front door and worried, too. Jesus said he was coming to visit. She really didn't have much to offer him. She fumbled through her purse for the door key. But as she did, she noticed another envelope in her mailbox. That's odd. The mailman doesn't usually come twice in one day. She took the envelope out and opened it and read, Dear Ruth, it was so good to see you again. Thank you for the lovely meal, and thank you for that beautiful coat. Love always. Jesus. The air was still cold, but even without her coat, Ruth no longer noticed. I'd like to play a very special song for you, and listen, if you will, to the lyrics.
See, it's nothing.
Beautiful song written by Danny Burgess, sung by the chorus tonight, Filled with Jesus. And in case you've just joined us in the past few moments, you're in tune with the program Nightsounds. I'm Bill Pearce with you, and we do this just about every night on this station. So glad to have you with me tonight. Be delighted to hear from you. Many have written and said, I've been listening for years and I've never taken pen in hand and dropped you a note. Nightsounds will be going off the air in a few minutes. As we do, however, I'd love to hear from you. Leave something with you in your hand in the form of compact discs. Many write and ask for copies of program titles that have particularly connected with them, or want to hear or read about more information. We have a special info packet for those who would like to write for it. Our mailing address is Nightsounds, Wheaton, Illinois, 60189. Back to Nightsounds, and our title is Heavy Seas. I don't know about you, but I certainly appreciated those moments when I had with my mother before she left this earth and went to be with Jesus. Many of you have had the same kind of experience, and some have been there too late, weren't able to talk to a person who may have passed on. You don't always know when you say goodbye to someone special that it will be the last time you will be with them. And for whatever reason, they're no longer in your life. If you'd known that it would be your last opportunity to see them, you probably would have hugged them a little longer, a little tighter. You would have told them you loved them. Maybe you would have told them a secret about something or shared a special memory. I want you to know, just in case one day I don't get the chance to tell you, this loved one said to her father, who was dying, I love you. I want you to know that you have made my days brighter and happier. You always find a way to make me smile, even on my darkest days. I don't know what I'd do or what I would have done without you all this time. You're so special to me in so many ways. Well, however we might say it, it's going to mean something very special to you after the fact. I'd like you to listen with me to these few moments of song. Baritone Fred Frank closing our program with a special word about that very special song that you can sing or words you can say.
When all is said and done, if something I have said has made the least little difference to just one single someone, then all of this has been worthwhile. And I'm glad for all the stops along the way. And I'm glad for all the pain and all the problems. For I, just as you, need to know that the Lord has a purpose for me. And I, just as you, want to find the special place that's just for me. And so until I've come to the end of my season, I pray my life will always have a reason. And I beseech thee, Lord, to use me until all is said and
Well, tonight we've spoken a little bit about some of the storms of life and the weather reports and the heavy seas that you may have been through, or someone else whom you know, whom you can help to weather the storm. Let's be ready to be sensitized to others' needs. I thank you for sharing your needs with us here at Nightsounds, and we can join you in prayer. Send whatever materials you might suggest, or send a catalog about the adjacent ministries of this outreach between the times when we get together on the radio like this. We're delighted to hear from you. Our mailing address, in case you'd like to write, is Nightsounds, Wheaton, Illinois, 60189. Let's remember as we take our leave from each other, God has promised to be with us through the storms and the heavy seas. May we trust in Him and ride the storms with Him. Until we meet again, good night.